that's 9 silver. Hello and welcome back. This is the official start, episode 1 of our new Terra Firma Greg series. If you want to check out the sort of intro and, I suppose, description of how this playthrough is going to go, I encourage you to check out episode 0. However, in terms of progression, it's not going to be as required, so you are able to miss it if you choose. Currently, I am out here panning for metal from a collection of metal deposits that you would have seen me mining up in the beginning. Now, I did just get enough silver to finish off my current goal. Just a little shy of the gold, but that's okay. I still have plenty more to go through. But I think for right now, I'm pretty happy with what I've got. Also, I ended up breaking one of my nice stairs. What a shame. So, to get us started, we've gone ahead and collected all this metal. And a little bit extra. Surprisingly, I managed to sneak in a tiny bit of raw pyrite, which can be cast into iron, though we're not quite there yet, and that's okay. I was able to get a good bit of copper from going through, I think, 93 pieces of metal deposits. And I also managed to sneak in a sapphire throughout this, which could come in handy in the future. I am going to try to hold on to all gems, as they have some more advanced metals inside, like aluminum, and also oxygen, though that's not quite a metal. Now, I did manage to punch a fish. Very exciting stuff. I'm sure you've never seen that happen before. And I do need to fix my diet a little bit. I've been munching on tomatoes and green beans, so I want to get at least a tiny bit of protein, but I've also been trying to get through some of these veggies before they go bad, because even preserved, they're going to go bad in like 6 days. So it'd be nice to take care of them a little bit, but I want to go ahead and cook up this trout before it goes bad. I know, a bit of a waste of a log. I'm sorry. I'll make it up by making a couple torches as we go. So to get started here, I do have a couple of vessels ready. I do have a few spots for pit kilns open. And here pretty soon I am going to go and relieve this beautiful forest of some of its natural beauty. Unfortunately, I know, it's terrible. I'm loving some of these trees, though. This weeping maple, that's very pretty. And there's also plenty of the hickory. We got plenty of oak. There's a lot of wood to be gathered around here. There's even some like dead trees like this maple here, where there's no leaves attached, so that'll be an easy grab. And I'm going to start working on making some charcoal here pretty soon. In fact, I can go ahead and sort of plot out a spot here. Doesn't need to be a lot of space. How much durability? Oh, only 2. Oh, 3. Perfect. And this can be where I cook up some wood. But that'll come in a little bit. To get started first, let's take a look at some of the numbers. And I know this is the boring part when it comes to Terra Firma Craft. We do have to do... Ooh, that was loud. We do have to do a little bit of math. I know, it's not fun for me either, but we gotta do it. Math is important. So, to make things a little bit easy, let's first take a look at some compositions. If you want to process... Oh, that's interesting. If you want to process metal, you want to look at... Ooh, where is it? Right here, under the heating recipe. So it says right here, melts into 16 millibuckets of silver. And here is the 16 millibuckets of liquid silver. Now, we're not going to be dealing with the liquid itself. That's going to be sort of behind the scenes. We won't see that. But the 16 is important, because back in the day, for those of you who haven't played Terra Firma since the 1.7.10 version, back then, 100 units was an ingot. Now it's been sort of unified into the millibucket measurement, where instead of 100 millibuckets being an ingot, it's 144, which I know can be a bit of a pain when you're trying to make things nice and even, so that way you don't end up with some solidified metal left behind in your vessel, which I prefer to avoid as well. Now, I just realized I don't actually have a spare vessel ready to go, so I am going to have to empty one of these, and I think it's going to be this one because it has nothing. Maybe that one? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. One of them will get emptied. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now, just so I don't have to deal with it. Get those taken out, pop those in here. Perfect. Kind of. There's still a little bit of inventory issues, but that's fine. We have an empty vessel. That's the important thing. So let me take out a little bit of this, and this will all be important. So to make things easy, I'm dividing things up into sets of 9. And reason being is 9 of these small native pieces is the equivalent of 144, which is 1 ingot. Now, when it comes to processing the type of bronze I'm going for, and also, just in case you're somehow new to modded, I'm hitting U to view the uses of this material. And then in here I'm right-clicking, but I can also hit U as well. Checking the uses of the metal, here's the alloying section. You can make liquid rose gold by mixing some copper with a bunch of gold. You can make brass using zinc and copper. We're not interested in that. We're interested in this right here, our black bronze. Black bronze, from what I saw during episode 0, seems to be the strongest variant of bronze, and I am kind of skipping past copper, just because copper is a weaker metal, and I'd like to use as little of it as I can to get as much bronze as I can. So we're going to be using 50%. It is going to be the 50% ratio of the copper, along with 25% silver and gold. Thank you, Rain. So to make this very easy, we have 2 parts copper. So that's our 25% to make 50. And then we're going to do the same thing with silver. And then the same thing with gold. So 9, 9, 9, 9. Just to make it really simple. And then this should all blend together to make me 4 ingots worth of black bronze, which I will be immediately putting into use. Hopefully it doesn't cool down too quick. That is the biggest problem when it comes to making or processing metal in this fashion, is it can cool down too much before you're done casting. So I'm going to try to be prepared. Now, the things I'm going to prioritize, and it might be a little strange to you that I'm not prioritizing a pro pick right away. There's a lot of P's going on. I'm going to go for the hammer mold and the chisel in place of the pro pick. And the reason for that is I want to be able to start working with stones. We're also going to get the saw blade and a pickaxe. The pickaxe is pretty much a given. You can mine metal with it. The saw, pretty simple. You can process wood with it. There's a lot of things we need wood for. And then the chisel and the hammer we need together in order to make, or in order to process stone. Yes, I could use a stone hammer. I much prefer to have a metal hammer, specifically when it comes to that, just to make sure that it doesn't break. Let me sneak in a little bit of water by staring up into the convenient rain. Cool beans. Okay. Now, I just realized I don't have enough wood for this. So I do need to quickly make a new axe. Bing bong. And let's go take a peek at a nearby tree. Now, I've been using hickory, so I'm going to try to stick with the hickory just to save on stack space. Inventory space is kind of a problem at the moment. So as much as I can save, I will. Here we go. Beautiful. That'll be enough, and I have plenty of straw. So, let's come right over here. I only need to use the one. I don't believe I have anything else going on. And let's put in this vessel. Gonna make sure. Oh, and look at that. It even shows in the contents. I didn't realize this. It shows in the contents how much you put in, what the ratios are, and how much of the metal you're going to make. That is so nice. Oh, that is so nice. You don't have to do as much math now. You just dump it in until it looks good. So I'm going to press V to put that in place here. Now, do I need anything else clay-wise before I do this? I don't think I do, but let me just look through the napping just to be safe. I don't believe I need a blowpipe at the moment. I'm not going to be working on glass, which is something I will be looking at in the future, but just not quite yet. I suppose I should go ahead and make a mold for an axe, as I'm going to be wanting one of those pretty soon anyway. So to do that, it's going to be the opposite of how you would normally do your napping. So just think about where you would break out on the corners and do the reverse of that. There we go. And what else? We have our pan. We have a cast for a couple other tools. A nugget mold. That's interesting. I don't think I need that, though. That will take up too much space, so I'm not going to worry about that. We have that. I don't really think I need a mace yet. And unfired heart. What do you do with that? That sounds kind of fun. I don't think I need a scythe at the moment. An unfired bowl. That could be good for salads. I'm pretty sure you can use bowls for salads. Let me verify this. Ceramic bowl. You can use it to make flatbread dough. Which actually just any kind of dough. And yes, also salads. Very cool. So you know what? That does sound like a good option. I think I did that wrong. How does this work? Oh, you take out everything. So let's see if I can do something a little different. That probably won't work, will it? Oh, it does! Look at that! Though I don't need that many. But yeah, if you see a recipe that you have the space to kind of double up on, it will work. Which is pretty nifty. Alright, I'm going to just go ahead and toss those in. I think that's going to be fine. Let's lay in our straw. And let's top it off with the wood. Very exciting. Now, just to show that this feature does exist, you could shift right-click and hold this in order to light the fire, or, alternatively, you just toss a torch on top. And because that material is flammable, boof. Now, you lose the torch, obviously, but that's okay. Now, because I now have an axe, I think I am going to spend a little time taking care of some wood-related issues. Let me just eat my fish to get a little bit of protein back in my diet, because my total health isn't looking too hot, as you can see. I'm also going to just temporarily just slap those down on the ground. If you're curious about this, I am pressing V just like I would with the ceramics. And I suppose I can just drop that on the ground for right now. Move that up there. Bone. Cool. All right, I'm going to go get some wood. Now, I was just on my way back after just cutting down a couple of hickories, and look at this. I found pumpkins out here in the wild. That is actually pretty nice. Now, it doesn't give nutrition on its own. I do need to cut it up. But it's fruit. We get a little bit of fruit. That's amazing. We can do napping with the pumpkin, apparently. Just to kind of make some decorative stuff. And you can do the same to get pumpkin chunks, which that's going to be all I can really do with this, is just take a knife to it. I'm going to leave the others for right now, because I don't know the expiration date on these. I think they last for a long time. Yeah, almost a year on their own, so that's fine. And you can put them down and wait that way. But I didn't want to take too long away from home, because like I said, it can cool down a little quick. Yeah, I only have like a minute, just over a minute. So I have enough time to cut down another tree, and that's about it. I struggled so hard finding hickories. I was just trying to focus on hickories, and there's hardly any around. There's tons of maple, though, which is going to be really nice coming up in the future. There we go. Ta-da. Beautiful. Good bit of hickory. I also got this sugar maple sapling by mistake. I'm going to plant that right there. It's going to grow in 6 days. Love that. But yeah, there's lots of maple around here. It's very nice. We love maple. It's a pretty wood. But now I have a bunch of hickory saplings to kind of deal with later. Now, I have all of these ready. I'm going to toss the gravel to the side. I got to make sure that I am quick and ready with this. Oh, wait. There's a very important thing that I just remembered that I have not done. I need to quickly make myself a knife. I did not need to toss all those aside. And I need to do this to make some wooden tongs. Now, wooden tongs, or tongs in general, are super important to have in your offhand whenever you're holding anything hot, or you will just drop it on the ground and hurt yourself. And I'd rather not get burned right now. And I don't want to be spending time juggling a jar around. So we got the tongs ready. It's out, go. See how it's already taken damage? All right, vessel, we're going to make the pick. Done. We're going to make the saw. Still yellow-white, so it's still molten. Good. We don't want it to cool too fast. Done. Go for the hammer. Probably should have done the chisel first, but it's still hot, so we're okay. Done. And then do the chisel. Done. Beautiful. All 4 casts, and I didn't end up waiting too long and letting them cool off. That's why you got to have a little bit of time management going on. I am going to toss that into the water to let it cool, though, so I don't keep destroying the tongs. There we go. Perfect. And these are already cooled enough that I don't really need to worry about anything else. Excellent. Okay. Okay, so let's set that to the side. And now let's crack these open. So I'm going to put that in here in the crafting grid. And there we go. Ooh, I kept the mold. Very nice. You don't always keep the mold. That is convenient. Though, maybe not too much. Oh, and the hammer. Wow, we're keeping all of them. What about the chisel mold? Yeah, I kept every mold. That is astounding. Excellent. Okay, well. Now let's take a few sticks. And let's make our first tools. Look at that. Our first metal tools. Black bronze pickaxe. It has the highest total durability out of the bronze tools. And there we go. Now, I didn't get any progression from that, so I'm going to check this because I think I might have skipped a little bit ahead. Yeah, there we go. It wants me to go for a saw. Oh, it wants a saw first. Gotcha. Well, that's okay. We got one of those too. Ta-da, metallic saw. Very nice. Now, you don't get rewards for completing these quests, so that's something important to keep in mind. Next, let's work on some wood. So we did gather a little bit, got some extra hickory, so I can take the saw, put it in here with that, and bang. Hickory lumber. Now, this can be kind of treated similarly to planks. It's like a pre-plank. So now we have the 4 wooden planks, which we can then, did that not count? There we go. Which we can then put up in here to make a workbench. Now, in the olden days, whenever you made the crafting bench, it would immediately give you a 3x3 crafting in your inventory. That doesn't happen anymore. Unfortunately, but that's okay. We now have the glorious crafting table. We now have a 3x3 crafting grid. Very, very nice. We also have this chisel and this hammer. These are important. So I believe I need the hammer in my offhand and the chisel in my main. There we go. That's a task completed. I'm not sure where that came from, but that's okay. But yeah, having the hammer in your offhand and the chisel in your main, you'll see how it's kind of like highlighted in red. Might be a little hard to see, but it's there. And then you'll see at the bottom right, you can kind of see the change when I move this around next to that little inventory icon. There's like a preview of the type. Now I'm pressing N by default. N like Nancy. And you can kind of see the shape change. So now I'd be making stairs. Now I'd be making slabs. Now it's a full face. I want the face specifically. Reason being, I did get a couple of these actually. While I was mining out Markarth back there to get all my silver, I managed to get a couple pieces of raw basalt. Now, with the chisel and the hammer, specifically with this face. We don't want the stair, we don't want the slab, we want this face. Right click. Now we have smooth basalt. I'm going to want to do this 2 more times. Ooh. Detected material change. Found air pocket. Oh, I must have clicked differently. There we go. And then I can use my pickaxe to pick them up. So we have this smooth basalt. And we still have 3 raw basalt. Just so happened I ended up with 6. This was not planned. Now, if we hit use, your uses, we can look through to see what all we can do in the crafting grid with a raw rock. And notably, we have a quern. Now we need a stone type, which I believe means smooth? No, raw materials works for that. So we'll have to get a little bit more of that. We'll get a handstone soon, but first, let's use the smooth and the raw to make a quern. This is going to be very, very nice for us in a little bit. And I'm just going to pop that right there. Now we need the hand crank on the top. I don't have enough rocks to be able to do that. So let's go get a little bit of smooth, or not smooth, of raw something. Aha. Here we go. There's a little bit of raw basalt under the gravel here. So I don't have a shovel on me, but I can fix that. Ah, I broke it. There we go. Shovel head. And there's a shovel. I'm going to take the hammer out of there. All right. So let's knock away some of this gravel. Now, unfortunately, these two touching, one of them is going to have to get broken. That's just the nature of processing stones like this, sadly. Okay, so let's do it this way. Okay. Remove that piece of gravel there. And then we're going to remove... We're going to remove the raw basalt that's under it. This will not result in us getting raw basalt. It'll just give us, like, pebbles, basically. There. Now, see how it says might trigger collapse? It's because it's not being fully supported anymore. So that's something that we'll be worrying about later on. Now, this piece I'm not going to be able to pick up, unfortunately. So I'm going to just go ahead and knock this one out. Bang. There we go. And this piece broke off, and now we have 1 raw basalt. I need to do that 2 more times. Alright. Now, we take our raw basalt, straight across there, add a stick. Now we have a handstone. There we go, and you just put it on top. And it has a little nubbin sticking out. Now, something to keep in mind, this handstone is considered a tool. It has durability. That's important. But there are multiple things that we can do with this quern. Now, you saw how we just did all that metal processing. Another thing you can do is you can put the metal up here. Right-click the little stick. Ta-da. And you turn the native silver into a small pile of native silver. Check this, and look at that. Each one now melts into double the amount of the original rock. So I could have actually saved quite a bit of these small pieces. Might sound like a little bit of a waste, but I think it was a perfect learning opportunity. Now, what to work on next? I still have quite a lot of these deposits, and I really don't want to do any more panning. My arms are tired. That just sounds like too much trouble. So let's see. There was another option. A sluice. Sluicing is kind of like panning, but way less painful. So I'm going to take my saw, take a log, get some lumber, and I'm going to put 3 like that in the corner. Then up there, like you're making stairs, and now we have a hickory sluice. Now, sluicing does not seem very intuitive. Also, we have a storm going on. Really glad I don't have a wooden shelter. It doesn't feel very intuitive, so if you're not familiar with it, or even sometimes if you are familiar with it, it's not enough. There was raw stone right next to me that whole time. This nice little boulder. That's a nice boulder. I'm taking advantage of this. I absolutely am. I'll get around to doing that later, though. First, sluicing. How would I like to go about sluicing? Where would I like to go about sluicing? How about on the other side of the river? Just over here. Let's clear away some of this sand. And let's clear away some of this gravel. I hate destroying this lovely riverbank, but for the name of progression, I'm doing it. Now, I don't know if it accepts it if it's on the side here. So I'm going to check that. And then down here, at the bottom, I need there to be water. Oh, no I don't! Look at that! It put it on its own. It has the water flowing over the top here. This block's kind of stuck in here, but that's okay. And then to make this work, what I believe you need to do, it's been a while, is I'm going to take that. Not quite. That. Nope. There we go. It looks like it's working. Yeah, see how it's kind of piling up down there? Along the edges? The water's going to flow over it. And then it's going to pop out down there. Now, I don't exactly have a hopper situation going. So it's not the most effective. But it'll get done. Yeah, it's also not very fast. There we go. So that is the entire stack now in here. So I can stand on it and it's not going to get me to pick those things up. But if I come down here, move the sand and gravel, there we go. Look at that. I'm getting silver now. So I don't have to do all that painful panning. I can just let this do its thing. Much, much better. Now, I'm curious. Uh-oh. Oops. Oops. All right. Let's get that sluice back. Put it in place. There we go. Love the little visual to show that it's working. Here's the silver. Drop that there. And it'll slowly line up. Excellent. Okay. Excellent, excellent. Now, I'm going to make one more. Because it's just so nice. Put the sluice here. And it works. So you can kind of stack these up. I could take out like this section over here and do the same thing. So let's do native gold. And it'll sit right there. And take care of things exactly the same way. Look at that. Already producing. Beautiful. And it's so much faster. I don't know if it's more efficient in terms of how much you get out of each piece of, or out of each block. Products of panning. Sluicing can give 3 possible products, ore, loose rocks, and gems. The possibilities are as follows. Ore is 55%, loose rocks is 22.5%, gems is 0.9% of each rock type. Okay. Has a specific... Oh, each rock type has a specific gem that it will drop that is exclusive to that rock type. Now, earlier I got a sapphire, but I don't remember if it was from basalt or if it was from the chalk. But I guess it isn't a huge deal either way, so I should... There we go, look at that, 14 pieces of native silver. And we have a good bit of gold building up down there. There's already 9 of that. This is beautiful. So much easier than panning. So much easier. I was not looking forward to having to deal with that. I think I went through all of my copper, though. And I just needed to process the rest of the silver and gold. Because we do have quite a bit of copper in here, which I can now use the quern on. Exciting times. Now, the lumber... My inventory has already become an absolute nightmare. Oh, but wait! I have wood! I look a little ridiculous with my arm sticking out like that. Okay, I have wood. We can deal with the lumber, or the storage problem. So let's do that. It makes 8 with each log. So I'm going to make 32. And then in the crafting grid, we do this. And look at that. Hickory chests. Now, these chests are not the best, but they do double up like that. So it's not quite the standard double chest size you'd be looking for. Normally, a chest on its own is 27 spaces. And then a double chest would then be, what is that, 54 spaces? This is just an extra 9, so that's like 36. Not the best, but oh my god. Inventory problems are so solved. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, feels good. Feels so good. Whoop. Mistake. There we go. Ta-da. I know, it doesn't look great. It'll get fixed up later. Now, you may have noticed the hickory logs are not going in. You cannot store logs. You also cannot store most tools. Some of the smaller ones you can. But most tools cannot. They need to be hung up on something special. Now, let's go take a peek at the sluice. Hold on. 18 pieces of small native gold. That feels amazing to see. There we go. I can see. Beautiful. Okay, let's see if I can do something a little cheaty. So if you fill this, you can get stick bunches. Take these back out, and then let's do that. Is that not something you do anymore? Oh, it's even better now. Or maybe it was always like this, and I just don't have a good memory. But yeah, stick bundles. It counts like a log. Isn't that fun? So let's see if I can make this a little better. I don't have quite enough, and it was a lot of sticks to use. I have a few more, but I don't know how worth it is. Yeah. I'll be getting more sticks pretty quickly, though, so it should be fine. It should be fine. Let's see how far this goes. So over in our little 9x9 area, you're going to want to... Let's get some torches so we can see. You're going to want to shift right-click, and it'll put down a log pile. Now you can either right-click and it'll put one in at a time, or you can shift right-click again and it'll put the whole stack, which is much faster. And these are log piles. This is how you are meant to store your wood in bulk, because you can't put it in chests. So you do this instead. There we go. Now, I have the stick bundle here, so I can put those in as if they're logs, and then I can toss those in. Ooh, it's so close. So close. If only I had 2 more of the same log instead of it being like that. Ah, that's such a shame. I don't really want to go make another axe, though, so this is just going to be how it is. Let's get a little bit of dirt. I know I have some mud. I don't want to use mud. I want to use dirt. So on here, shift click so that way it doesn't, or shift right click so that way it doesn't open the inventory space again. And you cover all but one. Go. On the one that you have left, give it a shift right click, hold, light this one. It's on fire, now cover it. Hear that? That beautiful sound is the rest of the log piles igniting. And now you have this very useful smoke particle effect coming out of the top to let you know that they are burning under the dirt. However, we have left no spaces open, which means there's no oxygen in there. So the heat remains, it does its thing, and it will carbonize the logs without destroying all the material. I'm going to go ahead and leave things here. I think this was a nice, informative video, and again, I explained this in episode 1, but just to reiterate for those who decided to skip episode 0, rather. For those who decided to skip episode 0, I will reiterate, I am taking this very, very slow. So, if you're looking for a fast-paced, jumping straight to all the advanced tech ages, that's not happening here, alright? That's not happening here. We're taking it slow. We're going to let people learn how everything works. I'm going to be introducing every tiny detail as if you are brand new to Terra Firma Craft, because some people may be really interested in trying GregTech stuff, but they've never touched Terra Firma Craft. And yes, the field guide is very helpful. And yes, the quest guide is very helpful. We will be following this. Mostly. We'll be getting there. But that doesn't really explain everything in great detail, you know? Not the way, like, a person can, just, like, sit down and show you things by example. I didn't mean to take that screenshot, it's fine. So next time, when this is all done, we'll dig out the dirt, we'll dig out the charcoal, and we're going to build something that'll let us start progressing a little bit further into some metallurgy. Ooh boy. Alright. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. Have a great one.